we'll just start. Jack in the Facebook group, she or he, I don't know. The profile is Jack Aranda. So, which is a tree.
I've spoken with Jack before.
Right. So I don't know. I guess it's a woman because it's JAC. How do you know if you're ready for a self-managed super fund?
That's an interesting question, the way it's framed, because it's so like we're going to start a family. When are we going to start it, sort of thing? As though it's almost like everyone's doing it. It's just a matter of when. So maybe not intentional, but I think, we'll talk to the pros and cons of a self-managed super fund in general. But I think, first of all, why do we need to change? Why do we have to come from maybe an industry fund and say, I think I can do a better job myself?
And most of the time you can't. Because Mac actually said DIY self-managed super fund for ETFs. That was the comment that, Mac made, where the last episode when we did the superannuation explainer, there's no way on the planet you would set up a self-managed super fund just to get ETFs, because you'll be able to dial in a very similar investment in your own retail fund.
And if you compare the fees percentage that you went through, it's going to be wildly different, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to do some fee crunching. But I think you said it at the start, John, particularly with this property thing, we'll ignore, because Jack might just be under this thing where it's like, well, at some point you become a financial grown-up and get a self-managed super fund.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but if someone was like, oh, we want to buy property in super because we want property, well, I think it is, okay, well, what property do you want? What's the asset? And then we work backwards. What's the ownership structure? Like it's not this, we've got to just buy property with our super, because I would hypothesize that buying one property with your super, and often it will be your spouse's super because you'll need to join the balance, is more risky than keeping your current super fund.
Yeah, and we'll never get a definitive yes or no to that because everyone's situation is different.
Well, you will. It's like one property worth X amount, one source of income, one property versus a diversified portfolio, Australian shares, international shares. I know what's high risk, and it's not the one property.
Yeah, I know. But
it's not like the other thing. The property is high risk.
But you could have a situation where there's a high cash amount in the superannuation, and I'm a business owner and I go and buy a warehouse to run my business out of, and it's just so called that the entity is my self-managed super fund.
And that's different. That's a different discussion.
And that's what I mean. It's dependent on the individual.
Yeah.
So like Jack's question might be, well, she's coming from the angle of I'm a business owner. Maybe.
Is she? Oh, you don't know?
Don't know.
Right.
But it's like, well, I see it most common for people that want to buy something to rent it off themselves as a business owner. But I also see property geeks say, well, I'm exhausted in my personal name and I just love property and I want more exposure to it. So hang on, I'll look around where else can I get a deposit? It? Oh, over here. Great. Yeah. My self-managed super fund, I can cash my $200K in, or not cash it in, but use that as a deposit. The only way I can do that in superannuation land is to create my own self-managed super fund. So, yeah, I get why people do it, and we just need to be aware of the cons, I suppose, of doing that, not just the pros of leveraging the bank's money.
Yeah, and my kind of overarching comments, you would look to a self-managed super fund if there was significant wealth, potentially, because we might be able to actually save money on fees, like legitimate savings there. You may have some complex estate planning needs. So remember last episode, everyone, when you are with your Australian super et al., or whatever the Latin is, and others, the trustee is part of that, where you might want to set it up so you are the trustee, so there is more discretion with the estate planning stuff, so it's harder to be challenged and whatnot. You mentioned it, commercial for business, that's fine. There's another thing as well, which it's a rarity. You might want to invest in a company directly that is outside of the top 300 ASX. You want individual shares because I think a lot of these member select platforms on the retail funds will not let you invest outside the top 300 to 400. So you might work for a company that's listed and you want to buy in. That could be an option as well. I'm not against self-managed super funds. I'm against not doing things that you don't need to do.
Well, yeah, potentially jumping ship because something didn't go the way you wanted it to, and acting on potential impulse or short-term thinking.
The amount of people during the GFC with their super, they got spooked, particularly in their 50s, ran along to their accountant, they set them up with a self-managed super fund and it just sat in cash and term deposits for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. It's just outrageous.
Yeah.
Because you've got to move it to cash on your platform.
Yeah, true.
But that's just a misunderstanding of super, investment options, and a way for an accountant to sell a couple of funds and some audit fees.
Well, and that's probably the other part of it too is like elephant in the room. There are specialists out there who may do this for a living, setting them up and benefit from them financially, regardless of whether it's suitable for the end user.
So how do you know you're ready for a self-managed super fund? I think it should appear itself. The need should appear. So for example, I use dumb analogies. These cameras here in the studio, they're cheap kind of entry-level crap, right? And they were good, and the more that we were using them and doing different things.
Shout out to Sony.
Yeah. We spent freaking $12,000 with Sony, but they are not, like once you get used to something and use it and you become more of an advanced or intermediate user of a product and this could be like super in your financial goals, you come to the limitations really fast of what you've got.
Yeah.
So these cameras, I'm like, all right, we've got to replace them. So I've just purchased 2 A7 4s with some good Sigma glass and all that, and upgrading because I've outgrown it. What I need to do, I could not do it with this setup.
Whereas if Walt Disney was still around, Walt Disney would walk in here and be like, "How good's this setup?"
Yeah, he'd have
99% of Australia would be comfortable.
You'd have an
with
orgasm. But that's it. Like these do the job, absolutely. But we needed to do some more bespoke stuff that these cheaper ZVE 10s can't do.
Yeah. So another analogy that was good.
Love it.
So
health and fitness, go for it, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm all about long term. Right, where do we want to be long term? I'm not going to use an analogy, but I think we've got to ask ourselves. No, I'll go back a step. We should be sitting down with our accountant each year and saying, right, here's how the last 12 months transpired from a tax perspective, from a wealth creation point of view. And as you said before, the conversations should lead that way. And they should be almost having conversations like you and I are now. It's like, well, okay, have we thought about a self-managed super fund? And the accountant says, yeah, well, these are the pros and cons of it. This is why you would, this is why you wouldn't.
I mean, I wouldn't go to an accountant for financial advice.
No, but that's where it starts.
Yes.
Like they're not setting it up and recommending it per se, but they're looking at it, the overall situation of your life, and then you're talking about wealth creation with your financial advisor in conjunction with that, and that's when you might start to come to the conclusion for Jack.
Hey, it's Glen here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.